them to run into something which appears to be posted by a prestigious institution, while guaranteeing that this has some kind of quality control. Who says this is really valid, this is really useful, or we don't have to exert any kind of responsibility over that. So I think that the example that has been presented before is really a very interesting one, but again, it's just in the hands of particular professional organizations. Now, we wonder whether governments do or don't have any kind of responsibility in this. The second one is about IPR. I mean, I'm not going to enter into this domain, but I think that the most important finding in our study was that most, I would say probably 90%, if not more, of the users and producers of OER in OECD countries didn't know a word in 2005 and 2006 about licensing, and they didn't care. And this is really a problem. So what I'm asking institutions to do is probably to have some kind of training programs or some kind of training activities intended to show people the right way to deal with that. Because there is also a right way, and as it has already been said, a number of different alternatives, some of them quite interesting, even if you are thinking of making business out of this. The third one, again, has already been mentioned, is the sustainability. But I don't think, in many cases, when we start to discuss this, I think that we have, how can I say it, a very high level of confusion. Because we are talking about two different things. One is whether we can build business out of the OER and whether these businesses are going to be sustainable in the future, which is really a managerial, a classical problem for a business school. And the other one, which is really what should be worrying us, is whether the OER movement as such is sustainable in the future. Because you can be, a great advocate, a great promoter of OER, but others may have been doing the business and making money out of this. So how can we connect both things if institutions are not willing to play a role in that? Now, what are the policy implications at institutional level? And I'm finishing with this. Well, I will just like you to focus your attention on the last one, on the last aspect, which is we are convinced that there is a risk in doing nothing. I mean, OECD in its report intends to, in a way, to promote the idea that higher education institutions in OECD countries do need to have a particular strategy regarding this. And probably that strategy has to be able to create some degree of some framework for incentives for faculty members, not only to use, but also to produce OER. This is really the main challenge in our views, because otherwise you are going to count very much on people's own effort and time. And you know, many of you, I guess, are academics. You know that you cannot be at the same time an excellent researcher with a good academic career, drawing on your publications, and spend a lot of time producing teaching materials. I mean, if you can do that, come on, you deserve probably a higher salary. There are, of course, national and international implications in terms of policy, and I think that it's not particularly a role for OECD, but probably for other international organizations. I mean, there is as it has already been mentioned again, there is a problem here regarding the interoperability of systems, and I think that some international organizations should be responsible in a way of promoting ways in which OER resources could be more easily used and transferred from countries and institutions worldwide. Of course, there are an increasing number of responsibilities by governments, and so far as we know, no one has taken the lead yet in those domains. For example, having a holistic approach to digital learning resources, because our focus today was on higher education, but OECD has a similar study going on the use of open educational resources in the school sector, and we are facing exactly the similar challenges. So I think that there is really a need for continuing the conversation and increasingly not think about OER simply as an individual endeavor or even as an institutional commitment, but also the responsibility of national governments as well. Some would think that we are talking again about the issue of new wine in all bottles. I mean, this is quite new, and some of my colleagues believe that in the OER movement, and that's probably the main research question for our next survey next year, will be whether, as I would say, OER is already reaching this slope of enlightenment phase. That's really OECD's hope. Thank you very much.